What if I told you that the most overlooked tool for a woman's deepest pleasure isn't a pill, a device, or even a secret technique, but something you already carry with you every day, your own hands? Most men dismiss their hands as secondary, a backup, when everything else fails. But the truth is the exact opposite. When used with care, patience, and the right knowledge, your hands can unlock levels of intimacy and satisfaction that many couples have never experienced, even after decades together. I've seen men in their 40s, 50s, and 60s who thought their best days were behind them, only to discover that a small shift in awareness completely transformed their connection with their partners. So let me ask you, have you ever believed your hands weren't powerful enough to truly satisfy her? If you have, comment the number one below, and if you disagree, just hit like. I am Dr. Laura Bennett, a physician specializing in men's health and intimacy, and for the past 20 years, I've worked with countless men who quietly carried the same frustration. They came to me not because of illness, but because of something far more personal, the feeling that they were no longer able to truly please the woman they loved. Many of them had been married for decades, and yet behind the laughter at family gatherings and the ordinary rhythm of daily life, there was an unspoken silence in their bedrooms. What most men don't realize is that the gap isn't about aging size or stamina. The deeper issue lies in misunderstanding how the female body responds to touch. Women are not light switches. They are more like symphonies requiring the right rhythm, the right build-up, and a sense of safety before the music reaches its highest point. Without that, the result is tension, discomfort, and eventually withdrawal. Over time, couples fall into a cycle where he feels inadequate and she feels unseen. This is not about blame, it's about awareness. I've seen men in their 50s look at me with disbelief when I explained that simple, thoughtful hand techniques could reignite their partner's passion. They were trained to believe performance is about speed or penetration, when in truth, performance is about presence, communication, and patience. The good news is that this knowledge is learnable at any age. So here is my challenge to you. Imagine the possibility that you are not broken, that nothing is wrong with you, and that your hands could become the most powerful bridge back to intimacy. If that idea surprises you, stay with me, because in a moment I'll share the most common mistakes men make and how those mistakes silently destroy connection. Now let's talk about the mistakes that silently ruin intimacy for so many couples. These are not small errors. They are habits that repeat over months and years until they turn passion into silence. The most common mistake I see is rushing. Too many men go directly for the most sensitive area, believing that speed and intensity will impress their partner. In reality, it often does the opposite. It causes discomfort. It makes her body tense instead of opening, and it sends the message that her pleasure is not truly being considered. Another mistake is assuming consent without asking. Some men believe that because they are married, or because she has agreed in the past, there is no need to check in. But intimacy without communication quickly feels mechanical. Women notice when their signals are ignored, and when that happens enough times, their bodies start to shut down in self-protection. A third mistake is inconsistency. Imagine she is just starting to feel a rhythm, her body is aligning with your pace, and then suddenly you switch movements or break the flow. For many women, that sudden change can be frustrating, like being pulled away right before reaching the peak of a song. This inconsistency is one of the most common reasons orgasms are lost, even when the connection is strong. Let me share a story of one of my patients, a man named Robert, 58 years old. Robert came to me because his wife had gradually withdrawn from intimacy. At first, she would turn away with excuses of being tired. Then she began avoiding physical affection altogether. Robert assumed he was suffering from erectile dysfunction or hormonal decline. He thought the problem was entirely within his body. But when I asked his wife to join us for a conversation, the truth was very different. She admitted that every time he touched her, he moved too fast, went too hard, and never paused to ask what she needed. She described it not as pleasure, but as pressure. Robert was shocked. He had no idea. In his mind, he was doing what a man should. In her reality, she felt unseen and unvalued. The pain of this misunderstanding was enormous. Robert confessed that he had considered giving up on intimacy completely. His wife admitted that she sometimes wondered if passion was only something for younger couples. But here's the important part: once they understood the root of the mistake, change became possible. By slowing down, asking simple questions like softer or firmer, and listening for her body's cues, Robert completely transformed their connection within weeks. So I want you to reflect honestly. Have you ever rushed, skipped communication, or broken the rhythm without realizing the effect it had? If you have, comment the number 2 below. And if you're one of the rare few who has never fallen into these patterns, then hit like to let others know. Either way, admitting the truth is the first step toward change. To understand why these mistakes are so damaging, we need to look at the science of female arousal in simple terms. Think of a woman's body not as a switch you can flick on, but as a symphony that builds layer by layer. Blood flow is the foundation. Just as muscles need oxygen before they can perform, a woman's intimate areas need increased circulation before they can feel fully alive. That takes time, gentle stimulation, and a sense of safety. Here's an analogy I often use with my patients. Imagine trying to start a car in the middle of winter. If you push the engine too fast too soon, it will sputter and stall. But if you give it time to warm up, the machine runs smoothly. A woman's body responds in the same way. Skipping the warm-up doesn't save time, it guarantees frustration. Science confirms this. Research shows that over 70% of women require clitoral stimulation to reach orgasm. That means focusing only on penetration misses the mark for most women. And yet, cultural myths have convinced men that penetration is the main event, when in truth it's just one part of a much larger story. Another fact: the nerve endings around the clitoris, labia, and inner thighs are far more concentrated than those inside the vagina. That's why light touches, circles, and rhythmic patterns can produce such powerful responses. But here's the key: consistency matters more than intensity. The nervous system thrives on predictable patterns, not random jolts. When stimulation is steady, her brain can anticipate pleasure, and anticipation is what magnifies sensation. Finally, emotions cannot be separated from biology. Studies show that when a woman feels safe, admired, and unrushed, her muscles relax, blood vessels expand, and pleasure intensifies. Stress and anxiety, on the other hand, constrict blood flow and dampen sensitivity. In other words, your mindset and hers directly shape the outcome. So let me ask you, does this analogy of the car engine and the symphony make sense to you? If it does, comment the number 3 below. If you think I'm overcomplicating things, go ahead and hit like. Either way, the truth is clear. When you understand the science, you hold the power to rewrite your story. Now that you understand the science, let's turn to simple actions you can take tonight. These are not complicated techniques or advanced secrets. They are small, practical steps that any man can apply immediately, and the difference they create is often surprising. The first step is hand care. It may sound basic, but clean, smooth hands are the foundation. Trim your nails, file away sharp edges, and wash thoroughly with warm water and soap. Remove rings or jewelry that could scratch. Women notice these details, and when your hands feel safe, her body will naturally respond with less tension. The second step is to slow down your pace at the very beginning. Instead of reaching for her most sensitive areas right away, start with neutral zones, her shoulders, arms back, or the outer thighs. Gentle strokes. Here increase circulation, relax her breathing, and prepare her nervous system for what's to come. It's like opening the curtains before the show begins. Third, add a pause. Place your palm gently over her vulva with clothes still on, and then lift it away. This moment of anticipation sends blood rushing to the area, increasing sensitivity. Teasing along the edges of her underwear fabric before touching bare skin makes her body more responsive later. Let me share a case from one of my patients. James, 62, told me his wife rarely seemed interested anymore. I suggested he start with these 3 simple changes: hand care, slow build-up, and intentional pauses. After trying it for the first time, he told me his wife whispered, "I don't know what you just did, but it felt completely different." That moment was the turning point in their intimacy, and it began with the smallest adjustments. So here's your short-term challenge. Focus on preparation, not performance. Tonight, see if you can slow down just a little more than usual. Watch how her breathing changes. Notice if her hips shift toward you, and let that be your guide. Sometimes the most powerful change is not adding something new, but removing the rush. Short-term fixes can spark immediate change, but lasting transformation comes from building habits and a system that deepens intimacy over time. Think of it like exercising a muscle. One workout feels good, but consistent training rewires the body. In the same way, consistent attention to intimacy rewires the relationship. Let me walk you through 4 pillars that create long-term success. The first pillar is communication. Consent is not a one-time question. It is an ongoing conversation. Before, during, and after intimacy, ask small but powerful questions. Do you like this? Would you like softer or firmer? Should I stay here? These words do more than guide your hands. They signal that you care. Over time, your partner learns to relax because she knows her voice matters. One of my patients, David, used to avoid talking out of fear of ruining the mood. But when he began asking short, respectful questions, his wife admitted she finally felt safe enough to let go completely. Their bond grew stronger than ever. The second pillar is patience. Many men want quick results, but the female body does not rush. Developing patience means training yourself to enjoy the process, not just the outcome. Instead of chasing orgasm as the goal, focus on connection. Breathe with her, match her rhythm, and allow her body to lead. This change in mindset removes pressure for both partners. One couple in their late 50s told me that once they stopped worrying about finishing and started enjoying the journey, their intimacy became lighter, more playful, and far more satisfying. The third pillar is blended stimulation. Hands are powerful because they can multitask. With one hand inside, your other can caress her hips, hold her stomach, or stimulate her clitoris. This combination creates layers of sensation. Small, steady movements with the fingers paired with external touch can be more effective than any single action alone. Some men think variety means random changes, but in reality, it means building layers of consistent patterns that her body can trust. The fourth pillar is aftercare. This is where many men unknowingly fail. After climax, her body is sensitive, sometimes even overstimulated. If you pull away too quickly, she may feel abandoned. Instead, stay close. Continue gentle strokes along her ribs, thighs, or hair. Offer water, whisper affirmations, or simply hold her. These small gestures create emotional security that lingers long after the physical moment ends. Remember, women often connect sex and love as one, and aftercare bridges both. Now let me tell you about Mark and Susan, a couple married for nearly 30 years. When they first came to me, Susan admitted she felt intimacy had become routine and lifeless. Mark felt rejected, believing he was no longer attractive to her. We worked on these 4 pillars, step by step. Mark learned to ask simple questions without embarrassment. He slowed down and allowed Susan's body to guide the pace. He practiced blended stimulation using his hands in ways he had never tried before. And perhaps most importantly, he stayed present afterward, holding her and listening instead of rolling away. Within 3 months, Susan described their intimacy as newlywed energy. Mark told me with tears in his eyes, I thought we had lost this forever, but it turns out we just needed to learn. So here's my challenge to you. Choose one pillar and practice it consistently this week. Comment below which one you're willing to try. Communication, patience, blended stimulation, or aftercare. Your answer is not just for me, it's a commitment to yourself and your partner. Because when these pillars become habits, you don't just improve performance, you build a relationship that feels alive, safe, and passionate for years to come. Let's bring everything together. You've learned that your hands are not secondary tools, but powerful instruments capable of creating intimacy deeper than most men ever imagine. You've seen how small mistakes, rushing, skipping, consent, breaking rhythm, can silently erode trust, and how small shifts, slowing down, asking, blending, touch, staying present, can rebuild it stronger than before. The science is clear, but more importantly, the stories prove it. Men in their 50s, 60s, even 70s have reignited passion simply by changing how they approach touch. I want you to remember, this intimacy is not about being perfect, it's about being present. Your partner doesn't need a flawless performance. She needs to feel seen, safe, and desired. When you use your hands with patience and care, you give her that gift. Here's my challenge for you this week. Choose one new step, a slower rhythm, a clear question, or aftercare, and try it. Then come back and comment below what you noticed. Your experience might encourage another man who feels lost. And if this guide has opened your eyes, subscribe now so we can keep learning together. Because the journey to real connection never ends, it only grows richer with time.